President, I just
introduce yourself.
Frank County, the mayor of Des Moines, Iowa. I would emphasize that we feel that it's important that we get targeted fiscal assistance to local government, whether it's through infrastructure projects that we talked about in our group, or whether it's energy efficiency block grants, or whether it's Tiger grants, or whether it's CDBG. Those are all formulas that work and have worked in the past. And I think to get money to where people live, where people work, where the GDP is produced in this country, that we have to target those kinds of opportunities.
Okay. Let me just pick up on this point. And this may have been discussed in some of the groups, but it might not have. As tough as this financial crisis and recession has been on the federal budget, it is in some cases been worse on state and local government budgets. Government budgets. About a third of the Recovery Act were essentially stabilization funds, either for individuals in the form of unemployment insurance or assistance to states so that they didn't have to lay off teachers and firefighters and police officers. We don't get a lot of credit for that. I would point out that some mayors and governors who were very critical of the Recovery Act, nevertheless, were very happy to get this money. But I think that it does raise the point that what we've been able to do this year is to stabilize aggregate demand. And that's been very important to preventing a much more difficult economic environment and a tougher job environment. Next year, we're going to still have some of those challenges because usually state and local government revenues lag the recovery as a whole. They may need some more help from the federal government. And I think it's important, particularly for business leaders here, to understand that fact, that if you see a complete collapse in state and local government spending on basic needs, that could create a very bad business climate for all of you. And that's something that we're going to have to consider working on very carefully. Okay? All right. Gentleman right there.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Noel Cuellar from Michigan. Tough out there. Yeah. One of the things that we're looking at is this medium-sized small businesses is the ability for financing. You know, every month is looking better. It looks like, we're bouncing back. But the ability to get the financing for the upswing, to buy the raw materials. So we're kind of struggling with buying raw materials or hiring people. It's a tough decision.
Well, look, as I said earlier, the credit markets were completely frozen for everybody. Because of extraordinary intervention on our part, the financial panic abated, and some of the credit markets out there thawed. So for a Fortune 100 company right now, you can probably get credit. If you are a small business out there right now, though, it is still very tough. Now, we have increased SBA loans by about 73%. And we are constantly looking for more ways that we can push the banks and the credit markets to get money into the hands of small and medium-sized businesses who create the majority of jobs. One of the things that I'm not sure if Secretary Geithner is here, but there he is. He's in the back. One of the things that I think Tim will testify is that basically at least every other day I ask him, what are we doing to help credit flow to small and medium-sized businesses? And there is going to be an overlap between what we're doing on the Recovery Act and what we need to do in terms of bank policy, what we're doing, what the Fed is doing in terms of the credit markets. And one of the things that we're really exploring is how can we help the community banks and smaller banks to loosen up credit. In fairness to them, they're a little bit caught in between because bank regulators are looking at their books and saying, boy, that was a real mess. So they're asking them to increase their capital requirements and tighten up their lending criteria. On the other hand, they've got the President of the United States saying, why aren't you lending more? And so they're a little bit of in a fix. Now, some of that is unavoidable because they really do need to strengthen. The banking sector was in bad shape, and it was over-leveraged, and we really did need to take some steps to shore up the banking system. But we have to make sure that we don't overcorrect, and that's something that we're concerned about. Some of the smaller banks also, although they weren't involved in some of the crazy stuff that was going on Wall Street, frankly, were just way overextended when it came to the commercial real estate market. Built a lot of malls out there, a lot of strip malls out there. And now they're finding that with the commercial real estate market actually not having bottomed out, it's sort of trailing the housing market in terms of problems that it's having. That's having a lot of effect on small banks as well. The bottom line is this. We know this is a priority. We are pushing as hard as we can to do it in a responsible way. We actually think that by getting financial regulatory reform done, which is currently pending in Congress, that will provide the certainty and the framework available to us so that we can then help these banks more effectively do the right thing than we're doing right now. Okay? I want to, right behind the gentleman that I just called, I want to make sure that we're getting a little gender equity here in, no, not you. Yeah, right here. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm a farmer from Missouri. My name is Rhonda Perry, and I'm representing the National Family Farm Coalition today. And I just wanted to bring your attention, which I know that you understand fully, that there's been a lot of conversation about we need to get the biggest bang for our buck. And many times in many places around this country, in rural communities, independent family farmers are the biggest bang for our buck in terms of creating jobs with independent businesses that depend on farmers, from the people we buy our seed from to the people we use to process our meat, to the transportation system to haul our grain. We create a lot of jobs in rural Missouri, so we want to make sure that's not overlooked. And one of the things that you and the First Lady have highlighted is this incredible move that's underfoot where thousands of farmers are producing food for local markets. So we need to make sure that we have the infrastructure in place, from the meat processing to the transportation and storage, to make that a reality, because that really is and could be a reality for us. And whereas we have tended in the past to put a lot of money into the hands of corporate agribusiness out